Yes, it is.
Hi, you are the owner for, correct?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Kirsten. I'm calling with, so we are reaching out. We provide timekeeping automation software for construction. It
Okay.
helps maximize field productivity and increase the time your remote employees spend at the job site by 10 to 15%. Do you guys currently have a way to reduce non-productive time and get accurate visibility into where those remote labor hours are being spent?
Okay, I'm going to stop there. Kirsten, nice job. What I like about this so far is two things. If you're familiar with the H2H method, we have 3 script frameworks, and this one is the consultative. So typically somebody who's maybe behind a desk or has time to talk, and you see that she went out with a quick prop about what they do, automated tracking, and then she got right into a question. What's one thing you notice about this, Jaheim? Was there an opener in this at all, or no?
I noticed that she was very confident on reaching out to the person that she wanted to speak to,
Yeah.
and not necessarily was there an opener of a pattern interrupter, but she still had that confidence in order to intrigue into that conversation.
Love it. That's exactly what I noticed too. She didn't use an opener at Superhuman and using the H2H method. Openers are not required, but our team, has the preference. We call that a preferential add-on in the H2H method. If it makes you feel comfortable and you feel like it's going to help open up the conversation with your prospect, then that's something we encourage. I noticed, Kirsten, like you said, she found out it was the right person, and boom, she got into the conversation. What I love about this the most, though, is that instead of focusing so much on the opener, it's really about getting to that first question. I think the faster we can get them talking, the better. So let's see what happens after she asks this question. Let's see what he has to say.
I believe we do. I don't get into the operation side too much anymore, but I believe they do.
Okay. Would like an operations manager maybe be better to speak with, or?
Yeah. So, give me one more. What is exactly that your software does?
So
That's crazy. She kind of interesting technique there. She kind of had this reverse psychology statement. It was like, okay, well then maybe you're not the right person. But what did he do? He kind of revealed himself a little bit.
There you go.
By asking more questions. And that's one of the things we say, right? In our gatekeeper strategy, we either have a pass through, we're just trying to get to that that person, right? Hey, is John there? Hey, is Mary there? Is Emily there? And if they say, well, what's the call regarding? The more questions they ask, the more that they have some type of stake or knowledge about what goes on there. And that's kind of the conclusion we have to make, because if they ask them any questions, they have to know parts of their business in order to know to ask those questions. Right?
Absolutely.
So in this one, he said it doesn't really go on the operations side. So she's like, well, wait a minute. Am I even talking to the right person then? But then he doubled back and said, wait a minute. What does your software do? So clearly he has some kind of vested interest. Otherwise, what would he have done? Would he have stayed on the call with her?
Not at all. Not in my experience, right?
Right. No, he would have passed it off. Like, why stay on this cold call? But she did a great job of introducing the software, used very simple language, and asked a really good question about whether they've considered a tracking software to help save that 10 to 15%. So he asked, what does it do again? So let's see how she responds.
we eliminate the need for field employees to manually indicate when they arrive at the job site and select the proper job code. So we use a GPS to track crew locations, and that GPS automatically allocates the daily hours to the proper job and activity codes. So I know a lot of companies, they have GPSs on the trucks, just to track crew locations, but then they're using usually T-Sheets or QuickBooks Time, and a lot of companies aren't aware that they can have this all in one. And it does integrate into most leading payroll systems so that you guys can run payroll quickly as well.
Right. So one of the problems I would see with that is so our guys actually they needed a meeting spot, different spots, and
okay. pause there for a sec. So she went through a pretty lengthy calling prop.
Yes, sir.
But I think she had his attention because he was asking that question. So congrats. I mean, well done to Kirsten, because I think she explained it very well and kind of easy to understand. And now you can see he's starting to kind of ask questions or make statements within the objections realm, right? So let's go back for 1 second and see here. And again, this is a call that we both have not listened to. So we're reacting to this live, have not listened to this call, but just knowing, how we go about cold calling and what kind of to expect on these, kind of knowing, noticing some certain things. All right, so let's see what his comment was again.
Different spots, and then
Sorry,
they needed a meet and spot different spots, and then they drive to the sites together as a group, and then they go back to that meet spot. So they change all the time. How would that work in this system?
So what do you said they get out of one truck and all go into another truck? So meet at like a location?
Yeah, they're meeting at different locations in the morning, right? So if they're going to Rhode Island, we'll say we're going to Rhode Island, we're in Mass, they're going to meet at a different, if they go on the South Shore, they kind of change their meeting spot every morning to minimize their drive time, we'll call it.
Right, and are they meeting in work trucks or their personal trucks?
So they drive their personal trucks to the meeting spot, and then from that point, then they drive to the site together.
Okay. Right. So I'm sure that would be more of our co-founder. His name is Rob.
Jaheim, give me your thoughts on that response from Kirsten. Did you follow that?
I did. So,
okay.
I would like to include in here that her product knowledge and having an understanding of what she's trying to get out of this prospect is, on point. So I think that that's a key into before getting into a cold call, that we need to understand how can we rebuttal from these objections and how are we going to actually answer this prospect. And the fact that, she elaborated more on the question, very important to ask the question back again to the prospect, make sure you understood what he was saying. And then from there, she's going for the next steps. Obviously she may not have the correct response, or maybe she does, but we're not allowed to give that on a cold call. So that being mentioned, I think it's important that we're, and including with the H2H, we're about building that trust and giving as much of an honest response as possible. So for her to take that step and say, okay, this is something that the co-founder can handle, I think that that's the proper steps that she should be taking, just because, she has strike that interest already into this prospect.
Yeah, and what I loved about that is it sounded as if maybe she clearly doesn't know the answer. That's why she's passing it off. But what she was trying to do, even if she didn't know, is ask a question that helps gather more information for who?
Absolutely.
For Rob, right?
For Rob.
Gather more information, and it allows the person on the other end, the prospect, to feel like engaged and like we care. Because that way, Rob can take that. She can say, hey, they drive their personal trucks to the location, and then they take the work trucks to the job site. And so now Rob has that information that he can answer right away. And when the baton is passed, they can pick up where this conversation left off. If it goes
Absolutely.
to that point. So we'll see what happened here.
That would be more of his expertise and questions. I don't want to give you any false information. Would you mind if he gave you a Teams call just to discuss this more and answer any of those additional questions?
About to jump on a call in about 3 minutes here, so not now, but definitely we could set something up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's awesome. This is a great example though of when you probably, I'm sure that you've encountered this before, Jaheim, but when we ask for that appointment right away, why is it that they always think they're talking about right now?
I mean, it's happened before to me too. I don't know how to answer that one, Ryan. I would think maybe adding a line there saying, let's set up a time for the future, maybe can help with that. But I get that too. A lot of people just assume I mean hopping off that phone call to get onto a Zoom call.
It makes it an easier response or handle to that objection. But I love what you said there, which is, hey, maybe we could set up a time, set up a call at a future time when it's best for you. And
Exactly.
what does that do to the conversation? Does it add more friction, or does it take away friction and make it easier?
To me, it would take away friction, just putting his guard back down and say, okay, he's not looking for something immediate.
Right.
They're trying to adjust to my time. And we're also showing that we're respecting their time. We can understand they were busy. We interrupted them. But we're just doing our job and our role. And coming to that agreement, I think that's going to help put the guard down and release some friction from there.
Facts. Let's keep going.
I was hoping maybe early next week.
Sure.
Okay. Now, how many crews and people do you guys usually have in the field?
Oh, I don't know, 30 to 50.
Okay. And does morning or afternoon tend to work better for you?
Next week, so give me 1 second here.
Problem. Brings us to the first week of August already.
Yeah, so I have a board meeting on Tuesday. Monday's going to be working towards the board, so I wouldn't be able to do anything till like the 3rd or the 4th.
Okay, I can do the 3rd. I have morning or afternoon, and that's a Thursday.
Executive sync between 9 and 11, so I would have to do the afternoon.
Afternoon? Okay. I have 2 o'clock, if that would be okay.
Yep, 2 will work.
Okay. So I have an email for you. Is it at .com?
You got it.
All right, perfect. You'll receive that Teams link through that email as well. And again, that's with our co-founder. His name is, and that's next Thursday, August 3rd at 2 o'clock. And I am going to put in my notes the question that you had, just so he is prepared to have that answer for you as well.
Beautiful. Sounds good.
All right. I hope you have
All
a good
right.
rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Any last comments on that?
So before, first I want to give to Kirsten, totally transform that call from someone who was not the decision maker to someone who's looking at his calendar and picking the time for her. So that's, that's a great way to get control of that call and make sure that you're feeling confident while doing it. One thing that I would personally do, Ryan, and I would just cut to the chase on, hey, you mentioned Wednesday works, or maybe I reached out to him on a Tuesday. I reached out to you on a Tuesday at 11 a.m. How does next Tuesday sound for the same time? Just cut to the chase on picking that time. Not only will it help show more confidence, but it's more than likely you will be able to get something 24 hours or 48 hours out, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the whole friction reduction is the point there. The more that you can make it easier for them, then the quicker that they can make a decision. And
absolutely,
that's very true. I love that, because hey, you were available this time. How's next week? Or how about Thursday at the same time? Kind of working backwards from what's the most obvious that would work to then a time that maybe is not as logical, but still trying to nail it down. I like how she confirmed at the end too, the appointment.
Absolutely,
that was one of my that was cool as well.
And mentioning that Google Meet, making sure they're understanding where they're going to helps a lot too, because some people sit around expecting a phone call, and they're not going to get it. So telling them that, confirming, hey, it's a Google Meet, you're going to receive this link. I'm also going to include these questions. There's nothing else she could have done better. I think she did it great.
No, that's great. And actually, we've learned that lesson in the past, that you have to be very specific. And we actually have in our VanillaSoft platform, when we're making dials, there's actually a drop down that says, where will this meeting take place? So that when we send that to our client, it shows what type of meeting it is. Is it a discovery call, phone discovery call? Is it a Google Meet, Teams, what have you? So
absolutely.
All right, Kirsten, well done. There's a couple things obviously that we can all work on, but that was our first time hearing that call, and I would say solid 8.5 out of 10. What would you give it?
I would give it an 8.5 out of 10 too. Like you said,
Okay.
I don't think a phone call can ever go perfect. I've never had a perfect cold call, but she did really good on giving that moment of, and one thing I was going to add is giving that moment of silence when he asks that question, you know, making sure that she's understanding his question and not just rebuttaling it with something that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Sounding human, you know, making sure that she's having a conversation. She's not reading a script. You know, those are all things that Kristen handled very, very, very well. So kudos to that.
Agreed. Well, Jay, thanks for joining me the first time. I'm sure we'll have many more of these. And thank you, everybody else, for coming along. Until next time.